Man.
What's wrong, Tony?
I just can't pass this water temple. I just can't.
Fear not, gamers. Moss is here.
Wow, Moss is here! He's kind of a big deal.
Yes, I am. And I'm here to tell you to check out ZeldaDungeon.net for all your Legend of Zelda needs. Stuck on a dungeon?
Uh-huh.
We've got you covered. We've got the most extensive Zelda walkthroughs on the net.
Wow.
News, previews, articles, walkthroughs, and so much more. ZeldaDungeon.net. And don't forget about the entire Dungeon Gaming family. Gen Game, Pokemon, Darksiders, we've got it all. And if we don't have it, you don't need it.
Thanks, Moss!
You're welcome.
Hello and welcome once again to the Forward Compatible Podcast. This is episode 67, part 2 for May 19th, 2013. My name's Tony and I'm joined, as always, by my fellow podcaster, Jason. And Jason is currently talking some stuff about a bike.
Yeah.
Mark, once again, if you caught part 1, you know that he was unable to join us this evening. He, of course, is graduating from college today. We're also
there in a second.
Yeah, we're also rejoined from part 1 by Brian once again. How's it going, Brian?
It's going good.
And Jason's leaving us again.
No,
walking around doing silly stuff.
There's a little, one of those little flying fucking ants. He's running into the woodwork here, so I'm gonna get him.
Yeah, kill him. Jason's always killing stuff.
Public execution.
Yep. Today, of course, if this is part 2, if you have yet to click out and check out part 1, please do so now or at the end of the show. It's up to you. Where we, of course, discuss the hottest news of the week as well as answer the reader's questions.
Yeah.
In the Gmail portion. Right now, of course, we're going to tackle Tony's topic of the week.
Topic of the week.
Pretty sure there's
I heard
music
a
playing.
tappa for a second there. I don't hear it now though.
I'm hearing music. Is your fucking Mac playing?
No.
Okay.
That was weird.
This is making great podcast
Nothing
radio.
came through here.
Really? Okay.
I picked up nothing.
Is it kicking in now?
No, I meant like I didn't hear any music playing.
We're recording, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
I was confused.
I still hear music. It's very faint. There's music coming from... I think it's coming from your Mac, dude.
I don't think so.
Hold on, we're having technical difficulties, folks. Or is that coming from outside?
That's something from outside.
Whatever. Okay. So this week, we're going to be discussing something very large that came out this week. And that is, of course...
Oh, I wasn't there for the innuendo? Damn.
Innuendo.
Very large.
EA, Electronic Arts, is dropping their online pass model. Initial thoughts?
Good.
Fucking EA.
I think it's also good news.
I think they're up to some shenanigans.
We will get to that momentarily.
You said initial thoughts.
Initial thoughts.
I
Initial
call
thoughts.
shenanigans.
Initial thoughts. yes.
Shenanigans.
All right. So let's go back to when these were first.
Whoa.
Let's go back to when
Throwing
these
shit
were.
at me.
Let's go back to when these were first implemented. How do we initially feel about these?
I didn't like them from the beginning. I get why they want them or why they came up with them, but I think that at the end of the day, it wasn't a worthwhile endeavor because it does more to alienate and annoy people than it does to grow your base. And I don't think that the money they were getting from them was worth the cost.
I think when they implemented them initially for the sports titles, correct? That made sense. when they started branching out into other genres, it got a little overkill.
I was completely against these from the beginning. Not because I give a shit about used game sales, because I don't. However you want to spend your money is fine. If you want to get games new, get them new. If you want to get them used, get them used.
If you want to steal that shit,
it's still their property. And if they want to lock certain parts out for people who didn't pay for it, that's fine by me. I just feel that the way that they did it was atrocious.
do you have some history on? Because I don't remember.
No.
What was the first game?
I don't know.
It was probably Madden.
I feel it punishes those who legitimately bought your game brand new by forcing them to provide an extra step. I know it only takes less than 2 minutes, but it's still a hassle that needn't be applied to for somebody who paid $60 for your game. And there's better ways to go about this if you're trying to combat used game sales, because as much as they may deny it, it's exactly what these were implemented for.
What Tony's trying to say is, if you've ever listened to him discuss the Kinect, Tony often games in the dark. And to input a 25-digit code would require him to turn on a light.
It's only 12 on PSN.
Okay, well, do you have any EA games?
No.
Well, yeah. Either way, it would still require some type of light source, which is not only an extra step of inputting it, but you have to work to illuminate that code.
You're talking 3-4 minutes of fucking work.
Yeah.
But I just I like you were saying. I mean, I know why they were doing it. It just it seemed like a poor decision from the very beginning.
Well, and it's not a good reason, in my opinion, because first of all, like the financial thing, like, well, these other people are getting the game, we need to be able to support the game for them too. But the first person who paid for the game, if they had never sold the game, they'd be doing just as much support on the other end. So it doesn't really take away any cost.
It's been literally my exact argument from the beginning. Is once that game is in the used games defense, you should have servers being capable of running every disc that you sell.
Right.
Doesn't matter who's playing that disc.
Exactly.
The server should be able to compensate for that disc.
Right.
Used game sales do not mean that there's more games out there. There's the exact same amount of games out there.
Correct.
For me, I could give two shits about the used game sales. My problem was in a scenario where if I wanted to borrow a game from you, I could not experience that full game. To then decide if I wanted to purchase it to then play with you. Okay, you get locked out. It was absolutely asinine.
And then, of course, with the online passes, they always gave you the option. They didn't want to completely alienate used sales, but if you wanted, after you picked the game up, you were able to go onto the store and purchase the rights to play the online component for an additional $10 fee. This is something that was not only implemented by EA, it was started by them, but was later carried on by THQ as well as Sony.
I think Ubi did it as well, didn't they? Ubisoft?
They might have. I don't remember, though.
I don't think so.
No?
Well,
Assassin's Creed and stuff don't have one.
And then there was that ridiculous, and I know it's not EA, but that ridiculous BS with Arkham City, with locking you out of
Catwoman. Yeah.
A single-player game locking you out of content because you had a pre-owned copy.
Yeah, well, these were all derived from the online pass. It was more ways to lock you out for not purchasing the game brand new.
Sure.
Keep stuff away from you. That's because they don't have a multiplayer component to hold over your head.
Sorry, guys. There's a little bit of wind. It is extremely hot here, so we do have a window open, and it does catch the mic every once in a while. Sorry. Just wanted to make sure we carried that over because that was pretty loud.
Oh, fucking
Bless you.
Yeah. All right, so that's what we initially thought about the thing. How do we feel about it as time went on?
My stance I would say, for me, like I said, Arkham City was the lowest point for the whole used pass thing. I think in general, it was more annoyance than anything. They did implement a couple of cool things, and I apologize if I'm jumping ahead, but for instance, Need for Speed Most Wanted, when you bought it brand new, you got the quote-unquote limited edition, which the online pass then gave you a couple extra cars. one can argue that that's again, just a ploy to implement the online pass. But I thought it was kind of cool to at least
withholding content.
Yeah, but at least they're marketing in a slightly different light, trying to make a better situation out of a negative by saying, hey, guys, here's 10 more cars because you put in your online pass.
I think their obsession with selling new is a detriment to them because there's plenty of other industries that sell used and it doesn't kill them.
No.
I mean, the book industry has been around for a long time and they're doing okay. Mm-hmm. The movie industry, DVDs, has been around for much longer. Well, I shouldn't say much longer than games because VHS and video games are kind of on even footing. But none of that has taken them out of the business. So the excuse that used games is destroying gaming or it's just costing them too much money, would it be nice if everybody bought new? Yes. But it's never going to happen.
The problem with the video game industry is this is going off what you were just mentioning. Mm-hmm. They never found out a proper way mm-hmm. to do exactly what you're saying. If you look, a lot of people equate this to the automotive field or the movie field. Cars, okay? Huge pre-owned car market out there. More than probably half the cars.
I was going to say, you probably sell more pre-owned cars than you do brand new.
But see, the automotive industry didn't stick their head in the sand and just start crying. They figured out a way around it. And what they did was on their dealership lots, they started taking in trades from people who wanted to buy new. And they opened up a whole half of, sometimes more than half, of their dealership to pre-owned vehicle sales. They took a piece of the pie. They started figuring a way around it. It's as simple as if Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft could ever sit down at a table or even hold their own. You can open up GameStops, not call them GameStop, and just take in trades on Sony products and have it owned by Sony.
You have Sony
and
stores,
with digital
style
games,
stores,
with digital games, you could do it digitally. You can just say, you know what, I'm never going to play Scott Pilgrim again. Mm-hmm. Put it up for credit and get that credit toward another game.
I believe it's Marvel is now doing that with comic books. With where you can actually trade in an old digital comic that you're not reading anymore and get some credit back.
Yeah.
I believe it's Marvel. I believe it is.
That would be the way to do it.
And that's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. See, even comic books are ahead of the curve when it comes to pre-owned over video games.
And I mean, they just transitioned to digital and everything.
Movies, all these things. Yeah. Movies got kicked in the ass by the digital age, but they're figuring ways.
And piracy. Same thing with music. They've been hit hard by it.
They're figuring ways around it, though. Mm-hmm. And the video game industry, instead of figuring out a unique alternative to their particular needs, they just sit there and complain and add stupid online passes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for as much shit as we give GameStop, they, at least in some games that they were able to work out deals, were able then to provide free online passes for certain titles.
And there's two additional things about the used game market thing that really gets to me about this whole used games is killing gaming thing. One, GameStop keeps the cost of some used games down. I don't know if you guys recall back when GameStop carried Super Nintendo games. If you wanted to play, say, Earthbound, if you want to get it off eBay, $80 minimum. Going to GameStop, $40. So they kind of artificially kept that price down for a while, which was a useful thing because otherwise some of these games skyrocket in price.
Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, exactly. I sold it for like $80. It's now worth $80.
Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was worth a ton of money for the PlayStation and the Xbox versions.
I mean, it was still like a $60 game at GameStop, but you were still...
Dreamcast is worth even more.
Oh, yeah. And the other issue that a lot of people will bring up is like, well, used cars and used books, they wear out. And games don't. Games wear out. Go back and play some NES games besides like the classics. They're done. Nobody enjoys Monster Party anymore. Nobody enjoys Friday the 13th. Who goes back and plays Primal for the PS2?
We still enjoy Friday
Zero
the 13th.
people. You enjoy it ironically.
We do it for a laugh.
Yeah, for a laugh. You don't really think it's good. It doesn't hold up.
I don't think I've shared this story with us. It was at the store that Brian and I worked at. This is when they still had an EA Chicago, and they were making Fight Night and Def Jam here. The head designer, or whatever the fuck he was, came into the store and bought every single issue of Game Informer, which the current month had both of his games on it, Fight Night and Def Jam. Proceeded to buy every copy of Game Informer, gave him a discount, And then as he's leaving, he turns around and he goes, and it's people like you is the reason that my industry is going to shit, and walked out.
Why did he say that?
Because he was a fucking dick.
Because used sales.
Because used
it's implied,
sales,
yeah.
they don't make any money off of used sales.
But nobody does unless they run the store. I mean, that's the thing is that used sales it's gonna exist forever unless you purposely lock it out. And what they're forgetting is like somebody who buys used now might buy new in the future. Mm-hmm. Or like me, when I would trade in games, it was toward a new game. Yeah. So someone else's buying of my used games funded my purchase of your new game.
See, I always go back. This is my story with my proof of the pudding, if you will, with how this crap doesn't work. Mm-hmm. My go-to franchise on this show has been the Uncharted trilogy. The first one I bought pre-owned. I had no idea what that shit was about. Mm-hmm. The cover sold me. It looked like a cool action-adventure game.
Pre-owned.
I picked it up. Absolutely fell in love. And you know what I did? I went and bought the second and third one brand new because I bought the first one pre-owned.
And you're a piece of shit for buying it used, Tony. We don't need your money.
But they could have lost.
I'm joking, but yeah.
Sales on 2 and 3 had I not picked up number one pre-owned.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
And here's another thing. I wish I for once would have done some research for the topic of the week. But I'd like to know the net worth of EA.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Okay, when is the point when you need money to survive, or you need money because you're fucking greedy?
I mean, I mean, if you want to get into the business side of things, and you want to talk about money, I mean, there are people who will say that EA has an obligation to always make more money, and they're not wrong, but it's still like, I mean,
But when you try to make money at the expense of the audience that you're appealing to, it becomes a problem.
It hurts your company in the long run.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think it's bigger than all that. I mean, they're a publicly traded company with a lot of stockholders. Their sole purpose is to make money. It's not to make gamers happy.
I get that. Yeah. You know, I'm a consumer. I understand.
But you can always speak with your wallet. With me, I haven't purchased an EA game outside of the Battlefield 3 and Medal of Honor, the newer one, in the last 4 years. I haven't bought a brand new EA game in protest of the online pass and Day 1 DLC and all the nickel and diming.
For me,
that's how you speak to them.
Need for Speed. I didn't pick up any of the other ones. The only reason that I picked up this one is because I really enjoyed Most Wanted, the old one, and because Criterion did this one. With the exception of buying my girlfriend's dad Madden every year as I believe a birthday present, nothing.
That's what I'm saying. So I went, unless the game I super wanted, which I've only named 2 in the last 4 years or so, I haven't purchased any game on purpose because of this shit.
Yeah. And then you have a company like 2K Sports, that say fuck that, and they don't provide what? Oh. Holy shit!
What's up?
76 million is their net income. Mm-hmm. They're worth 4.143 billion. As of last year.
Good for them.
They only have 9,370 employees.
Okay.
Look at that. You feel all fancy with your iPhone now? If you had Siri, you could have asked her. Fuck her. There's the soundbite for the episode. Fuck her.
So, that's Siri, what is the value of electronic arts? Oh.
Yeah, Google would have figured it out by now. I'm not saying.
Well, no, that was not good. That was would you like me to search the web?
That's all it is. It's all it is with you guys. Excuses.
The value of
I didn't say it right.
Is this that commercial?
I didn't say it right.
Is this that Windows commercial coming out?
Siri just didn't hear me right.
No, I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. I was going to make the joke that it didn't hear me. But you jumped too quickly, sir. I had a Google phone before this. It was able to hear me better. I do think Google's voice recognition is better. Anyway, Siri messed it up, so don't worry about it.
You fucking bitch!
I was also hoping, I've set Siri to call me idiot, so I was hoping it would say, idiot, it's worth blah, blah, blah.
I'm completely off topic, and I apologize, but when my girlfriend wasn't looking last night, I made her phone, her name's Cupcake. So anytime she talks to it, it's going to say, hello, Cupcake.
All right, so I don't even think we answered my second one. How do we feel about this as time went on?
I said I felt annoyed.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's a terrible idea. I never liked it. I don't think I would ever approve of it.
Yeah, I never. Easier to input that when I just bought a new game. I really don't pick up pre-owned anymore. I haven't bought a pre-owned game in a long time.
I hated as an employee explaining to people why they had to buy an online pass. You know,
I just don't. I tell them it's a waste and get the game new. It's not worth saving $3.
if you have a power-up card, it's $5.
Oh, well, $5?
Sorry, I had to.
Yeah.
That's why you get all your reserves from me.
All right. What do we think? Since EA has elected to drop the online passes, as I'd mentioned, I know THQ did it. Now they went under, and Sony does it with their first-party games now as well. What do we think those guys are going to do in reaction? Because they pretty much waited for EA to start this and followed suit, and now that EA is canceling it, do we think it'll kind of vanish from the industry?
I know it's going to be another point that you're bringing up, but I think, and I'll be as vague as possible as I can, I think maybe we're starting to see a transition to something worse than online passes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that they'll drop them because EA dropped them. They may find they have to if they have a competitive title with EA. So if, like, say a shooter comes out and EA's got Medal of Honor coming around the same time, they might not have the online pass just because they know EA won't have it and it'll be pressure not to use it. But I think that for the average game, like, say, an Uncharted or something like that, there's no reason for them not to. I mean, there are reasons for them not to, but there's no reason financially for them not to. So I don't think it'll disappear completely, but I think it's good that EA dropped it. It's probably the one good thing they've done in a while.
Yeah.
You piece of shit.
I really don't think any of this is an issue too much longer. I think this is the final generation of physical media. So if they would just buckle down and deal with it for a little longer, all this is going away.
We'll see. Here's a problem.
I can't talk about it yet.
Here's a problem, is that as much as it is possible right now to stop physical media, internet connections are not as ubiquitous or as powerful as they should be for that to go away. I personally have a very nice connection, but before I had this connection, I had a connection that was limited to 250 gigs per month, or I think the Comcast is now up to 300. That's 8 PlayStation games if they're almost a full Blu-ray. So unless bandwidth caps go up and speeds go up significantly, I don't think we're going to be there. Now, if we all got Google Fiber, yes, absolutely, we could get rid of digital media tomorrow. But until all the ISPs start to play nice with the large amounts of data that gaming downloads would be, I think it might not happen.
You're also looking on the extreme end. Who the hell is downloading 8 full PlayStation games a month every single month?
Well, that's okay. You're right there. You're right there. But
PlayStation Comcast
Plus
doesn't have a cap anymore.
Well, they've disabled the cap, but I think that they have said
There's
they might
a soft
bring it back.
cap.
There's a soft cap at like 300, I think now.
I never even get close to that. So, and I game a lot and stream a lot on Netflix. I'm always in the 200s or so, 100 something, 200.
I have gone over on Comcast. I haven't. I've gone over when it was the soft cap, so they didn't pull me.
I did it when I used to
They
pirate.
throttled me.
Yeah.
When I used to pirate nonstop, I used to go over.
They
but-
throttled me.
Did they?
Yeah.
No, I've heard of people who've been blocked off completely. It's never happened to me. But even so, if you have a slower connection, if you have like a 12 meg connection, it's gonna take you a long time to download a 20 or 30 gig game. It's gonna take you overnight. And that's assuming that Sony's servers are operating at good speed, which they currently do not. Sony downloads are
And to hear more
horribly
about that,
slow.
tune into part 1.
Yeah. So, and Microsoft is better at that. And if say EA is hosting the files rather than Sony or Microsoft, it may not be an issue there because EA has their own infrastructure for distributing games as well. So, yes, it's possible, but depending on whether the size of games increase, whether download speeds increase and caps, whether caps go down or go up rather, and also storage on the console itself is an issue. A 500 gig console can hold 10 to 20 games. That's the life of a console with no other stuff added onto it,
Well, I'm pretty sure $500 is going to be on the very low end of anything that comes out in the future. I'm also saying this is a full generation away. This is 10
that's
years.
true. That's
and
true.
at the
Who
rate,
knows?
I mean, just look 10 years backwards technology-wise. We were just starting to get the iPod.
Yeah.
So I mean, look at what
8 meg memory
Well,
cards for
yeah,
PlayStation 2.
I'm just saying.
8
Look
meg
at
memory,
what
yeah.
has happened in 10 years. So picture another 10 years from now. ISPs will be a lot faster. Caps may be up around a terabyte of data a month. Online
Flying cars.
infrastructures will be better. Maybe everything's
possible. It is
everything's
possible.
over the cloud.
Well, that's the other thing is Sony's talking about their Gaikai streaming. They could technically stream any quality game they wanted.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe there's
that.
no download time
Well,
because
is
everything's
that a
just
PS4 feature that you can start playing after 10% of downloads done, something like that?
Yeah.
Because I know that is it Gran Turismo or the what's that game? The Last of Us. When the game is half downloaded, you can start playing it.
yeah.
So that's a possibility as well. That is a possibility.
I don't even think you'll have to download them. I'm looking even more futuristic, something like Netflix, where you just
Stream
have
it.
a screen and you click that game that you want to play, and it just starts streaming. It's already downloaded on Sony's end, and they're just streaming you the content. That would completely eliminate used games. That's
would.
the way
That
I
would.
really
Well,
think.
yeah, and I would
It's
probably
also
pay,
going to eliminate
yeah.
online passes. You're not
and
gonna
it's
do
also
that shit
going
anymore.
to mean that your consoles would be online all the time.
Which I
Well,
don't think is
but-
going to be an issue in another 10
Well,
years.
I know.
Today, it's an
May-
issue.
yeah.
Yeah, I
10
know.
more years, not
I
an
agree.
issue.
I'm tagging up on previous
Because
topics.
the people that we feel bad for right now that have like 200, what is it? What's megabyte? Is that the really slow?
Oh, for download speeds?
Yeah.
No, I would say a slow download speed would be 6 or less megabyte. Because right now, like Comcast, if they say like their performance is like 20 meg, but they're actually giving you 12 meg because they do their power boost nonsense that makes it look bigger than it is.
Don't you mean gig?
No, meg per second. Megabit
Oh.
per second. In fact, it's megabit, not megabyte. And I can get into the difference between those two, but suffice to say,
Sounded like he was going to rap.
yeah, megabit, megabyte. I can't rap because it's actually 1/8 the size of what a lot of people think their speed is. But yeah, an average speed right now, like Comcast is, well, the highest speed AT&T DSL is 6 meg. That's their highest speed, and I would say that's if you're gonna do a lot of gaming and downloading, that's about as slow as you want it to be. A Netflix HD stream is around 5 meg, 2 to 5 meg, depending on like how high quality they go. So you can do Netflix HD on a okay AT&T DSL connection. LTE gets pretty quick. LTE gets 20 to 40 meg, sometimes even faster. My cable is 50 meg through RCN.
I get 30.
30 is not bad, but is it Comcast? So you're probably getting like 15 or 16. No, the 30 is power
I speed
boost.
test it all the time.
Oh, do you? Well, but you're doing power boost. That's their power boost. It's gonna test that high. The way power boost works is like the first 100 megs of a download is that high speed, and then they not ratchet you down. So you won't notice it for a download tester usually. So like when I would test it, I would say 20, but like the Comcast rep told me that the guaranteed speed after power boost is 12 meg.
Okay.
So yours is probably 16, maybe 20.
Okay.
Which is still okay. It's plenty fast. Sorry, go ahead.
No, the whole point I was
Yeah.
trying to get at was you look at it like 10 years ago when
Mm-hmm.
56K was all the fucking whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
That's the point, okay? So if you look at these areas in the middle of Arkansas or whatever, they're
Yeah.
getting these terrible download speeds. In 10 years, they'll probably still have the slowest brackets, but they'll probably be up around what we're getting right now in the higher ends of the brackets.
Maybe. The issue is that outside of Comcast and like the big competitors, a lot of people don't have good providers out there. My parents live in Spring Grove, Illinois.
There's
Comcast
no
won't
options
touch them.
out there, yeah.
Comcast won't touch them. They have this company called Mediacom, which is mostly okay, but Mediacom throttles, Mediacom blocks certain content. Like my brother, when he was serving in Afghanistan, bought a Sling box, hoping that he could stream football games to him in Afghanistan. Now, as it turns out, his internet connection out there wasn't fast enough to stream video anyway. But when I tested it from my parents' house to my house just to make sure it would work for him, it would block video streams after 7 minutes.
Oh, that's lame.
So if you have issues like that on your carrier, there could be issues.
Okay.
Now, what Netflix has been doing to push higher quality is they've been actually setting up local streaming servers with the ISP. So, like, your ISP will have a Netflix box on their main network that has all of Netflix's videos cached, so that rather than having to stream from Netflix Central straight to you, it just goes from your ISP to you. So,
Like a hub.
Sony, yeah, like a hub. So Sony and Microsoft could do, and EA and other companies could do stuff like that as well. So there are options that would make it work better. And because they know it's coming from their server, they don't care as much about the bandwidth because it's all in their internal stuff. Right. So there's stuff that could happen. It's up in the air. It's hard to say.
I just think everything's going to be a lot further along in 10 years than we can anticipate right now.
It is possible. I mean, if you look at Korea,
I just don't think it's going to be. I just don't think it's going to be as big of an issue as it is right now in another generation. That's just my personal opinion.
We can hope.
So,
yeah.
Wow, that thing blew away all my fucking.
Sorry.
No, the
wind.
The wind, yeah. All right, so EA's come out. The reason they are canceling this is because it actually wasn't bringing in too much cash.
No.
They didn't really see a certain, because if it was bringing in a lot of money, I'm pretty sure they would have kept it going. I don't know. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Doesn't surprise me. I mean, outside of sports games and the shooters, no one cares about the multiplayer. So, you look at a game like, I'm trying to think of a game that had a pass. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But any game that doesn't have a multiplayer component, you don't care. And even games that do, if it's not good multiplayer, you don't care. Mm-hmm. If there was a multiplayer pass for, say, for a season, because there isn't one for Tomb Raider. But if there was one, no one would buy it. No one cares about the multiplayer in Tomb Raider. So it's not going to bring in money outside of Madden. And most people who buy Madden buy it new. It doesn't sell a lot used. If it does, it's an older copy for a little kid. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So
a lot of it too is the people that don't utilize it that buy it new. Mm-hmm. Me working at GameStop, a lot of those games still have the codes that were never activated. Mm-hmm. Sometimes on their own end they screwed up and you could double up on codes. Mm-hmm. GameStop gives away codes of a lot of the pre-owned games that you buy. So I mean, the whole point of this was kind of indirectly swamped out by all these little factors too.
Yeah.
Where I know I've picked up games with passes on them, and since I buy them personally, I just take all 3 or 4 online pass sleeves that were in the game when I buy the one, and one of them works. I never bought an online pass. You know what I mean? So I end up getting it for free anyway, even though they didn't get any money from me.
Well, and the other thing
I did that with Rock Band.
Another thing that may be that they don't want to come out and say is that, maybe the used sales aren't as big of a deal as we thought.
Yeah.
They may not want to come out and say that because they want to keep pushing that, but if the online passes aren't selling, you can kind of assume that maybe the used games aren't as big as they seem to think they are.
I still call shenanigans.
It's a terrible assumption to think that everybody who picked up your game pre-owned for $10 or $15 would have paid $60 had that $10 or $15 game not been readily available pre-owned.
Correct.
So I think I agree with you where I don't think I think they realized that they weren't losing that much money because if you just X'd out all the pre-owned game sales, you weren't going to force a kid because he didn't have that. If he's only got $20 to spend on a game and he elects to pick up your game pre-owned, if you take away pre-owned games, he still only has that $20. He still can't afford your $60 game.
Right.
So he'll go get a different game. Mm-hmm. You're not going to lose a sale.
Right.
It's just somebody else playing your game that didn't give you your money, but. Mm-hmm.
And it's less exposure.
I don't know. Fucking whores. So do we think EA is actually learning?
Possibly. They've at least taken some sort of a hint that the online passing isn't worth their time, which is good. I don't want to get into their next experiment because we'll get into that.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Why don't we just tie him in because Jason's been steaming at the ears. Do we think this? Okay. It's not obvious, but there's a possibility that EA is axing this in favor of a different form of this in some other way to force you to buy new. So why don't we tie is EA learning and what could be the next thing, if any, that EA is trying to do?
I don't want to necessarily say that it even matters if it's new, okay, but it's microtransactions. It doesn't matter then if it's new or pre-owned. You're still going to buy that content.
Yes.
So how would that work?
Well, you look at like Mass Effect, and all the downloadable stuff that they added to Mass Effect, or Dragon Age, or Dead Space. You buy bonuses in the game. So
You buy perks.
You buy perks.
You buy extra weapons.
Right.
Skins.
Like in Dragon Age, I went back and played Dragon Age 2 recently. And you could buy extra weapons for the game that were not included, like, in the base game. But you get like an unlock code and open up all these super powerful weapons that you can have access to make the game easier or more fun, depending on how you look at it. But like Dead Space, what was it like? You pay money, you can get like a better mod to your weapon, or you can.
Andy, how did that work?
You basically bought like miniature care packages that gave you resources and a random chance from a weapon mod, but you could also buy those just using shit in game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So just,
another prime example is Gears 3 was weapon skins, and I bought all of them. I bought it was like a fucking $30 pack. They're just weapon skins. I bought them.
See, I don't like stuff like that. I don't buy stuff like that. But I do like expanded content.
They had a rainbow chainsaw, and I thought it would be awesome to chainsaw people with a rainbow.
Did he say your mom was a classy lady as he chainsawed him?
No,
because that was a penny.
I pissed off a lot of people with that rainbow lancer.
I guess
pink armor.
I understand microtransactions very well, and I dislike them very much. I just don't understand what you guys are getting at, how these are going to replace online passes.
There are
Because
people
if
who
there's-
spend a lot of money on
Yes.
microtransactions. You wouldn't think it.
But it's not going to combat used game sales.
It won't. But it'll just be extra money for them.
What you said
Yeah.
already makes a lot of sense, and it kind of flows into this. Is there wasn't a whole lot of market to be made with the online passes and used game sales. Okay, so ditch it, right? Look good to the press. You start pushing microtransactions more. Every game has microtransactions.
There's a whole big to do.
They already all do, though, even with the online passes.
But they can ramp
especially
up.
from
They wanna
EA.
ramp it
They
up.
can
If you-
ramp it up.
if you-
you're gonna want that shit, period.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a way to get the sale no matter what. If you don't have an iOS thing, but there's a
I
Real
have,
Racing 3.
I have an iPod.
Well, but it's a classic, or is it?
No, it's a touch.
Okay. There's a game that EA put out called Real Racing 3, and the game is designed so that you either have to pay after like every couple races or stop and wait between races.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is you get so into it you don't want to wait and you pay the money to keep playing. And I think that's what they're going to try to push. And it's going to backfire a little bit on them because nobody enjoys some of that stuff. It gets obnoxious. There's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And I think that they're going to go for the wrong way before they find the right way.
Okay.
For instance, if they took a game like Madden, and this is an extreme example, but try to follow me here, okay? And you play 3 games in a row, even though
Your players are all tired.
your players are all fatigued. You have to wait 5 hours before you can play another game in your season, or you can buy them Gatorade power-ups to be able to give you 3 more games.
Man, gaming's going to suck if it's...
But I mean,
I agree completely.
That's what some people are doing. The game that I play, Injustice, is guilty of it. But once you generate enough cards from different character varieties, you can sit and let your group of characters recharge, and the recharge time is usually about 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's very minuscule. Mm-hmm. But you can play as other characters while you're waiting for Superman and these guys to recharge. So that for a game that has microtransactions in them, they don't force them on you. It's more mellow. But that's an extreme example of where they can go with it.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully they do show some sort of respect to the people who buy their product and don't make their games unplayable. They're kind of going for this, like, it's not just EA. Although EA is doing it. If you look at The Simpsons Tapped Out, huge.
That's
game.
an EA game, isn't
It's
it?
an EA game.
Yeah.
It tries to sell you donuts.
I know somebody who buys a lot of fucking donuts.
Is it the person that I'm?
No.
I know someone else. Okay.
Yeah.
And
She knows who she is.
they the way you get extra houses and it's basically a Sim City with The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm. It's
But-
Farmville with Simpsons.
Yeah, when you want to build up your town, you have to either earn money or you can buy the money and buy the donuts to get the money.
Buy the donuts to get the money.
Yeah.
Got it? You following us?
So donuts. Certain things will only be unlocked with donuts. Certain things are only unlocked with money. So like if you want to have disco stew costs 20 donuts.
Yeah.
But you only get like a couple donuts a month. So you got to
Yeah.
really save them up.
And
that's where they
Disco
push you.
Stew might be limited
Yeah,
to
a
a
limited
certain time
So you
frame.
only get them for this month. So that's what they'll do. Stuff like that. And it's atrocious and it's obnoxious and I don't care for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a very good way. It's not necessarily microtransactions, but like I'm all for certain forms of DLC.
Could you imagine if Borderlands, when you run out of ammo and you go to the vending machine, you have to spend,
Real money.
even if it's 10 cents,
Yeah. to fill up your gun again.
To refill your ammo. Yeah, how fucking ridiculous that would be. Now, is that the way that they're going to go? Is it going to be that drastic? No, but is there potential? Sure, there's potential for a fucking...
it's EA.
Yeah.
They'll try it at least once.
Yeah.
They will try it at least once. It may blow up in their faces, but I can guarantee you, someone on the board's like, well, why don't we just make them pay for everything as they go?
Yeah.
And
so it goes back. It's almost regressing to the old arcade days where you just kept feeding quarters.
Which was the Cliffy B
Gauntlet.
argument. Cliffy B's like, well, look, it worked at arcades. I'm like...
Somebody just got murdered.
Yes.
Cliffy B actually made a comment. He's like, look, the microtransaction thing works. Look at how well it did for arcades. And my rebuttal to that was, yeah, but arcades aren't around anymore, and there's a reason.
And then Cliffy B was like, "Fuck you."
Well, we didn't have an actual conversation. Just to be clear.
But
that's
a good comparison. Is the games where you just kept having to feed quarters into.
And there are some games where it works.
Yeah, sure.
But a good engrossing experience doesn't work with quarters. It could be a fun, like it could be like a competitive thing where like when you want to play online, you need a certain number of tokens, and you say like, oh, I want an online.
You got to
token.
buy sponsors.
Yeah. Well, you don't.
Yeah. Shit like that.
Yeah, where you say like, well, I'm going to buy 30 online games, and Tony's just like, I don't like this.
Tony's like, fuck this. I'm leaving. But yeah, I mean, in an extreme form, I can see it that being a possibility.
I mean, I think they were trying that with some kind of PlayStation Home thing where you could get these arcade machines and you'd buy a certain number of plays for $1 or something.
No,
like that.
that was Xbox Arcade. You buy fucking quarters to play Frogger.
Yeah,
and shit like
and
that.
I would never do that because that's ridiculous.
I think I had like an odd number of fucking Microsoft points,
so you just bought
and I just I'll play Frogger for fucking 5 minutes, but
yeah, but it would never be a regular thing for me.
And then I realized I actually had Frogger.
And you actually bought it, and you're like, "What did I do that for?"
Yeah, no, like I had a free download token for Frogger. I'm like, what the fuck? How did I forget about that?
Yeah,
So now do you get a better perspective of where we were coming from with microtransactions?
After we assaulted you with nonsensical.
No, I still think all that's possible without eliminating the online pass.
No, it is, but the online pass, getting rid of it looks good.
Yeah,
that's what it's. I don't think there's a financial reason for it.
Let's hop into the future then. What do we think's coming? I know you guys touched on it greatly, but I held mine back.
Skynet.
I think that the best way for them to go, and I've done this before on my site, and I think we've discussed this before. Episodic gaming, I think, is the future, where you can get into it for a lower price, and if you're into the game and you want to keep going with the game, you pay.
And it keeps development costs down.
It keeps development costs down because
they're only making one episode, and then they're using the revenue from episode 1 to finance episode 2.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's
the good end of the spectrum. The bad end of the spectrum is what we were just talking about. Sorry.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah, it could go either way. It could go both ways.
Tony likes it when it goes both ways.
Yeah, buddy.
But I think that's the way that they should be going, and I think that's what they're. I think that at some point, after all the nonsense gets thrown out because they realize it pisses people off and people taper off with it, I think they'll try to find a model that it has legs, and I think episodic has legs. And so I think that's what they'll go with it. I love episodic. I mean, like even when you look at like Fallout, where you have the downloadable bundles, the expansions. That's kind of what episodic is, but in a greater degree.
They could have broken it down even further.
Yeah, it could have been that you bought Fallout 3 for $20 and you got like Vault 101 and Megaton and a couple other locations, and you spent $10 more for a bigger field and so on and so forth.
Yeah, to build it up.
And I would have done it. And if I didn't like the game, I wouldn't have felt so bad about spending $20 on it.
Sure.
And I think that's the way they should be looking.
For me, I think the elimination of the online pass. What I would do if I was them, keep in mind these companies don't owe you anything.
Right.
If you buy their games pre-owned. They really don't. You have no option to be getting upset with them because you didn't buy their game. You did, in fact, you got to know what you're doing. I'm not against used game sales. I don't care. You got to understand that they are getting no money from you, so they owe you nothing. If they really want to combat used sales, they should do what Sony has started doing as of late with their cross-buy, cross-play. What Sony has is that you pop in the disc. I believe Full Frontal Assault from Ratchet & Clank was the first game to do this. I may be incorrect.
If not, it was one of the first.
That game, you pop it in, great, works on your PS3. You're set. There's an option, it's called Disc Benefits. You click on it, and it warns you it is a one-time use. This can never be accessed again. You can't buy it for $10. It's over. That is how you get the game on your Vita. Okay? It's that simple with online usage. You block out half the game, you don't ever give anyone access, and that's it. You have a part built into the disc that just eliminates the need for all of this. It's a one-time use. You click yes. You don't have to input a 25 fucking button code. And people will get the message that if they want to play online, they have to buy new. There's no way around it. That's what I would do.
Well, or they could go for a bigger, more expansive experience like World of Warcraft. Imagine, Call of Duty. Well, maybe not Call of Duty because there's more of a story to the Call of Duty stuff. But MAG. I don't know if there's much of a story to MAG. I know it's more about multiplayer.
It's multiplayer only.
Imagine MAG, $10 a month, but you're constantly getting new maps and new missions and new things to do in the game. You might find that that's worth the money. Mm-hmm. They could do that. That's another way to combat used sales, because used sales don't matter at that point when you're getting a subscription. It won't work for every game. There's some games where it just would never work. But for a game that has a large online following, that is a completely acceptable alternative.
Another kind of spinning off that, if you were to buy the game new, let's say all the content that they released for the next year, aka the season pass, you get for free. If you buy it pre-owned, you gotta buy that shit separate. Mm-hmm. That's another logical way of doing it.
I mean, my opinion is they need to get off the used sales thing because it's a dead end to argue that. It's not going to go away, or if it goes away, you're not going to get money from those people who didn't have the money to begin with.
Yeah.
Or who don't think it's worth the product.
But if you lock them out of half of your game permanently without the option, you're sending the message. A, they're not using...
Well, you're sending that message, but the message won't matter if they can't afford it or they don't think
it's worth the money. Like you said, if that kid's only got $20.
But he can still buy the version of the game that has the story. He can get the campaign.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but you're gonna also dissuade used sales in general. And if you dissuade used sales, I don't think you'll increase the new market that much, and you'll keep people who in the future might buy new from getting it. Like, say a little kid can't afford a game, and their parents are either broke or don't want to fund a gaming habit. So the kid has to come in and buy their own games themselves, and they only get like $20 a year to spend on a game because they save up their allowance. Mm-hmm. If they can't buy that used game when they're 7 or 8. Who's to say in 10 years they're going to pick up gaming? They'll have had no interest in it.
Yeah.
They'll have never grown up gaming. They won't care. They'll be like, gaming, yeah, I guess, whatever, nerds. I'm going to go give someone a wedgie, leave me alone. Because obviously there's only two kinds of people in the world.
Yeah, naturally. Bullies and gamers.
Right. So I think that when they try to block out the used market, I think it's bad. They can keep trying, but I think it's the wrong way to go about it. I think it's completely wrong.
I don't know. My idea, I think it works well because...
Well, you used to get something.
Their biggest thing is the server strength. Because as much as they don't want to admit it, this is like a little-known fact, games are not built with the server strength to withstand every game that's printed.
Right. Oh, no, absolutely not.
Because
you go to like 10 or 20%.
100% of the discs you sell will never be online at the same time.
Right.
Ever. So you don't need to build servers that strong. So
unless you're EA and you make SimCity.
Well, unless you're doing something that's always online and requires a constant connection. Right.
Their main complaint... Yeah, but still, even if it's always online...
It doesn't need 100%, but it needs a higher percentage than something else.
So if their main complaint about the used game sales is having to keep server strength open, that they're financing, which I get, to keep somebody around and playing that didn't finance the game at all, I get that argument, you don't have to worry about that ever again. You're only going to be supplying the people who bought the game new. If it's completely blocked out and they can never access it again, not even for $10, you're eliminating the main argument that the publishers have against used gaming.
Yeah, but it's not a real argument because if the person who bought the game new just kept playing it online, it would be the same cost as if they'd sold it to someone else and that person kept playing.
I'm just saying they wouldn't have a leg to stand on anymore.
Well,
if you're basically buying a used game and you only get half of it, that's your trade-off. You're paying less.
I just don't think it's going to withhold content because imagine if you went and you bought a used movie and it was like, oh, how does Star Trek end? Fuck you, buy it new. It would never work. It would never fly anywhere else. You know, it'd be like if you buy used car. Well, you don't get the back seat with the used car.
But they're already doing it, and it kind of works. I don't know.
They're already doing it. I don't think it works because if it worked, they wouldn't be giving it up already.
Well, no. The only one that's using it right now is Sony with their crossplay ability.
Yeah,
and it is working.
Well, for the crossplay,
Well, I'm just saying it's that simple to convert it over to a different way of using it.
It's also very simple because every console manufacturer has patent to lock out used games completely. I mean, at the core, they all do.
Well, they could in some way, but it's just a bad idea. It's you don't gain customers by punishing them.
Mm-hmm. And from a business standpoint, I understand that companies like GameStop they deal a lot in used games, but those are also some of your biggest advertisers for your shit. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I mean not only GameStop, Best Buy, Amazon. I mean they do
sell used.
Yeah,
eBay.
They all do
it.
Well,
eBay's mostly used.
Yeah, they all do it, and it's almost cutting your nose off to spite your face. Mm-hmm. In that regard, like I understand they're a company; they're all about making more money and making as much money as they can. But it's also that I mean that's taking a big chunk out of just their free advertising that they get.
But I don't think you'd be losing any of that with the way I'm proposing it should go. You're not eliminating used game sales at all. In fact, you'd be keeping the prices even lower because the game would be worth a hell of a lot less when you trade it in. Which would mean they could sell it for a hell of a lot less. They wouldn't even be able to sell these things for $30 when it's 1 day old because half of the game is chopped off.
But it also makes the game look bad. When you buy a used game and you can't play through the entire game, or you don't have all the functionality, you get mad at Sony. You don't think, why didn't I buy it new? You think, well, fuck them too. You're not gonna take their side when you feel like you're getting slighted.
I don't know. How can you?
That's the exact reaction I had with Rocksteady when I found out about the Catwoman shit. And I mean, did Rocksteady do that? No, that was Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
but I was still like, yeah, I was still
bought it new.
Exactly, I did too. But
I was
still
planning on buying it new to begin with.
And then I was severely disappointed. It was like, fucking Catwoman sucks.
Yeah, she wasn't that good.
I mean, if you're gonna cut out 25% of the game, make that fucking 25% phenomenal.
Yeah. No,
let me play as the Joker. Me just run around murdering people.
Yeah.
Rock on. All right, the last couple things I got. EA admitted that they heard the voice of the general public and they were not happy. What do you think about that?
I think it's surprising, but acceptable. I think it's partially true. I think it's largely just a PR thing because they're gonna. I mean, they could have just kept it up and people would have dealt with it, but it looks good to get rid of it. And to say, hey, look, we see that you don't like it. Well, fucking duh.
I think when you look at EA, you have two very distinct sides to a corporation. You've got the part of it that is the money-making machine, but then you do have the part that are the game developers who enjoy what they do and want to entertain people. And sometimes that creative side can overthrow the money side just a little bit. Once in a while, it happens.
It has to. Every once in a while,
and I think exactly. Yeah. If you get enough, and the developers are the ones that listen to the fans, not the publishers, the developers, the people who are doing it for artistic reasons, not only for the paycheck, but for artistic reasons, are the ones that listen to the feedback and take everything in. And I guess when you just stack up enough shit, eventually it's got to go somewhere.
Yes.
Yes, we will stack the shit.
I think it's cool that they kind of heard it, but I agree with Brian that it's a PR move.
Yeah,
because
I was trying to shine some light.
I think people, these companies do hear an awful lot of what we say on forums and message boards and whatnot. Mm-hmm. They get it. They're glancing over. It's like what I was saying before and Jason just touched on recently. Companies like EA, they're huge with tons of employees. You got a bunch of guys who never played a video game before in their life, but they're really, really good at running $1 billion company.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why they're the CEO of that company. And then you got the lowly guys who make the games, the little guys who make $50,000 a year. that are much like all of us. They enjoy games of all walks of life. They like making it. They're just enjoying what they're doing, and they're not all evil, but they work for EA. You know what I mean? And those guys probably want to do away with online passes and day one DLC, and they probably hate doing all this stuff, just like Rocksteady did with cutting out Catwoman. But then you got the bean counters up on top that make all the decisions, and they're the ones that you know have the final say. So I mean, to me, I think the message does get across a lot more than we think it does, but the companies fail to react.
I mean, shit. It only took them how many years? I mean, when did they implement these
almost an
things?
entire generation. I mean, it was a couple years into the PS2 that they did it, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I forgot where I was.
It takes a while, and most of it goes unnoticed, even though they see it. But once in a while, we can get our point across. I know that you know, more famously, they had the BioWare incident with the ending of Mass Effect 3 and stuff. Once in a while,
there are some of these I could say about
the
Mass
vocal
Effect 3.
the vocal minority can get their way. So, let's hop into some final thoughts and wrap the show up.
Fucking EA.
Fucking EA, but good decision.
If they're legit, if their heart's really in it.
Well, I don't know
thumbs
if
up
their
to
heart's
them.
in it, but it was still the right. It was still the right move.
For now.
Yeah.
For now. Shenanigans.
I without knowing what their ultimate plan is, this seems like a good idea at the moment. This is a company that was starved for some good press, so
Yeah.
That's
true.
where I was going. That's what I was going to say. I was like, with all the negative press that they've had lately, you know, it's some good PR for him finally.
yeah. So I mean, we don't know if something more evil is cometh our way, or if you know, we finally got our point across, and maybe if we bitch a little bit longer, we can get rid of day one DLC and locked out content as well. I just the industry's going in a scary way. I've been saying this for a long time with a lot of these weird things where you're not able to buy a full game any longer. Even if you do pre-order and buy day one, you're losing out on pre-order bonuses because you elected to buy it at Best Buy versus Amazon or GameStop.
No, I agree. That's terrible.
And paying full price still doesn't get you the full game. They're still locking out content. They're still withholding stuff to release it as the first DLC pack. I truly believe after the game is shipped, they do work on a majority of the DLC. But before the game even ships, they have sometimes a DLC pack ready to go that was taken out of a game. They'll never admit it. But that part could have been full.
That was incredibly obvious with Mass Effect 3. That was the problem with Mass Effect 3. I don't know if you guys played it at all. One of the DLCs was a character in the game who, spoilers, the game's a year old, he's the last of the race that was wiped out 50,000 years beforehand. And so if you take him on missions, he explains how things evolved, and like he kind of answers a bunch of misconceptions about his race. And you kind of get more information into the backstory of the game. If you don't buy that DLC on day one, the day you buy it, you just miss out on that stuff. You can't go back to that stuff unless you replay the game from the beginning. And I'm sorry, I'm not going back and replaying a 40-hour game.
Shit, man, that'd be like playing fucking Halo without Cortana.
Yeah, that's very much what it was. It either should not have been there at all, or it should have been in the whole game from the beginning. I'm not against DLC. I think there's add-on packs are awesome, but day one DLC of that nature ruins it. It's bad. It's just not how it should be done. So yeah, that was a legitimate problem with that game. They either shouldn't have had that content in there at all and just kept it a mystery, or if they're going to put something that big in there, that's going to take the whole game for you. Because it's literally every mission, he would say, "Aha, we used to eat that race for lunch. They were just little lizards back then." You know, he says stuff like that. You know, adding the flavor to the game. But if you can't do that from the beginning and have him in your party from the beginning, you know, you don't want him on just the last mission. That's stupid. You know, so yeah, that's where it was a problem.
And along with everything before that, and microtransactions as of late, and just the whole ordeal, the way that the entire industry as a whole is moving forward is a little disheartening, a little concerning. If you ask me, I mean the industry is making a ton of money right now, but everybody is constantly complaining about how it's just not enough to cover developmental costs, and I think that's an inner problem of the way that studios are run, and not that the way that the gaming industry as a whole participates in purchasing stuff. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does. But if they keep pulling at all these little strings the way that they have, people are eventually going to get fed up. And a lot of people are starting to go that way, the way of Steam, the way to free-to-play, because they're sick of all this crap. That's why a lot of people are going to mobile, too. It's a lot cheaper to try out a $2 or $3 game and find out it sucks than to buy a $60 game like Aliens Colonial Marines or whatever the fuck, and then find out that sucks. It's you're only going to be able to burn people so many times with all this stuff, and then Brian and Jason brought up a bunch of great points about an even scarier future with some more withholding of content.
That's like post-apocalyptic shit right there.
That's when I stopped gaming. Yeah. It is, and I spend a lot of money on games every year. If that's how the future of gaming is going to be, I'm going to stop buying stuff and stick with the retro shit. Because what's the point?
Yeah, and that ties into where I was going to close off with all this. It's again speaking with your wallet. If any of these practices upset you, the only thing that these companies hear is their bottom line. That's it. They don't care about any of this other bullshit. Us going on forums and message boards. They read it. They probably chuckle to themselves. It's about all that gets accomplished. When there's a huge vocal fucking majority about something. But this may not even have been the reason that EA took this away. They may be saying that they listen to their fans, but it could have been for something else that'll never truly surface, and we'll never know the real reason. But the only thing they get is you speaking with your wallet. Just don't buy their games, and when they make $10 million less one year, they'll look back and be like, what did we do this year that made us $10 million less? And they'll be like, oh, we added online passes. Maybe we should take those away. And maybe that's the real reason they stopped, because maybe there's other people out there like me who only bought one EA game instead of 10 over the last 5 years because of online passes. Yeah. And maybe they're like, instead of making more money, we're losing money. We could trace it all back to the online pass. Let's take that away and see how it works. And then they'll get the message that way. That's your only option as the consumer. It really is.
Well said, sir.
All right, this has been episode 67. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch us next week, same time, same place.